And ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're live right now. I'm going to have to watch this after the fact to see what's going on. We're getting weird up in here and switching things up technically wise. But welcome everybody to Camera and Flask. Let me know if you're watching this and hearing this and it sounds okay. We're doing another show with the gentleman. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. There's should be a nice juicy red button down below. And let's go ahead and check in with the other hosts, starting with the one in the brilliantly red shirt, Mr. Ben Barden. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, my friend. How are you?
Good. We just lost Jem.
Okay,
So
well we'll carry on chatting.
we shall.
It didn't take long, did it?
No.
He's back.
He's
He's back.
He's back.
Okay.
Good.
Yes, thank you for noticing the shirt. This was a deliberate thing because I need to explain the slightly visually displeasing setup that I have this evening.
Please.
This is because I have been on a 12-hour job that I've just finished. I've come back. I have no way of getting my EOS R into the laptop today, unfortunately. So I'm on the crappy webcam on the laptop. Then I've got some light, but I was just black jumper on black. So I've put on the brightest thing I could find in my suitcase just to at least have something. So that's what's going on with me today. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it looks good. I like it.
Thank you.
Jem.
Yes, sir.
Do
you want to know why I disappeared?
Yeah.
Because there was a message on my watch page that said that there was an error that occurred, but then I was going to send you a screenshot of that because I thought maybe nobody saw anything. But in reality, when I refresh the page, I can see that our stream is being pushed. So everybody's here. It's great to be here. And hopefully this new plan is going to help us going forward. Let's see how it all works.
All right. Cool. And then, folks, do you hear and see Jem? Just let us know, just in case. Okay. So, sounds like it's a time to get to a sippin'. Welcome, everybody. By the way, I see all y'all in the chat. We got David, Joseph, Tony, Octavian. Very nice name. Sky, Rob, and Mike, and Rimrock, and Bad Karma. So let us know what you guys are going to be sipping on this evening, and we'll continue with this theme, starting with Ben. What's going on? What are you drinking this evening?
Okay, so I am in my native Lake District at the moment, and when I'm in the Czech Republic, I don't really do that Brit thing of going to try and find fish and chips and British food. I'm quite happy. There are a couple of things that I miss from this place. So one is decent fish and chips, decent curry is another, and drinks wise, the only thing that you just cannot get decent alcohol wise in Czech is cider. You can get cider, but it's horrible, nasty, sweet stuff. This is proper 7.5% dry, beautiful, crispy, woody goodness. So that's what I'm on tonight.
Very nice. Okay.
Well, it's screw top. Wait, what is this? Jem is coming 5x5. I don't know what that means, Rob. And then I think you asked if people can see and hear me, and I think Sky's reply was unfortunately yes. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Unbelievable. Beautiful. Bad Karma's drinking the Pepsi. I'm not going to judge you. Let's see. Octavian subscribed, thank you, and is also a frame killer. I'd like to know more about that. Cappuccino, actually on air floor managing jib camera for CNN right now. Wow.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
That's wild.
Loud and clear. Okay, perfect. I am taking out the, this is the Glenlivet Founders Reserve. It's nothing fancy. It's, they can't put a year on it, so it's got a mix of years. Scotch whiskey, by the way, cannot be called Scotch whiskey for many reasons unless those are upheld. But one of them is it has to be at least 3 years and 1 day in the cask. But I'm going to say that the average age of this is a little older based on the taste. That's what I got. And what are you having, Mr. Caleb Pike?
So I'm going to be there's all the junk behind me is because I'm remodeling the room next door. So I'm going to be doing a lot more of that this evening. So I'm going to take it easy and not get crazy. And we're going to do
bear.
we're doing a whoop, almost destroyed my headphones there. I already forgot what this. Yeah, New Belgian Ranger. It's an IPA.
Ranger.
Come on, boy.
Come on.
Hey,
there we go.
Okay.
IPA. Oh, it's an IPA.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So
Good.
Gonna pour this bad boy.
Welcome, Sam.
And we'll get this off to a. So David says, I'm fresh off sculpting my guns and jump rope. Now drinky.
Myers, rum, and flat cola. Luckily, you're not doing the two together. People give me a hard time about the mannequin, but I would say that guns and jump rope are a little stranger than that. That is a combo effect.
I don't know, Jim.
No, I'm not.
I don't know.
It was a nice try at deflection.
Let's go ahead and do this thing. So
let's go. Slanjava.
Yep. Gentlemen and everyone in the chat, cheers.
Hey guys, I'm waterproofing the roof next week. Coming in, every single screw and fastener on this roof, 30 feet by 60 feet, is going to be gone over and retightened and then caulked Flex Seal liquid, and then we're going to maybe do some reverse flashing. What's $2,000 here or there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, next.
All right. Okay. So let's settle in, shall we, into our evening, our topic. And before you do, just everyone make a mental note to watch the Flex Seal ads after this video because they're hilarious.
They're phenomenal.
They're amazing.
Wish I did those commercials.
Oh yeah.
The liquid is amazing. I watched a whole video on a guy who took the top of his trailer and he basically Flex Sealed the entire top and came back a year later and just cleaned it with some Dawn and it just became perfectly white again, and then just started pouring water on it, beat it up. It's a beautiful thing when infomercials go right.
Yeah. The guy was like yelling into the microphone, doing boats and stuff. All right. So this week we're doing another episode where we go over tips, and we're going to go each of us giving one tip in 3 different categories. We didn't agree upon the categories ahead of time, but I believe camera, audio, and lighting, or camera, lighting, audio. Is that okay, guys?
I hope that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay, good. And we're going to kick things off with Ben. We're going to kind of do a Ben, Jem, Caleb kind of situation this week. So,
okay.
One camera tip.
Oh, camera first. All right.
Or whatever speaks to you. Whichever category you'd prefer to start with.
No, all right. Let's start there. That's fine. We've got to go somewhere. So I've been shooting a load of stuff the last 2 days with Jago, and we've been filming some amazing accommodation, the tourist accommodation, these incredible suites, and doing a lot of takes, so a lot of nice slider shots, a lot of movement in things, and you do take after take because you're trying to get that perfect motion. You kind of there's one in there. Usually the last one. I've started using this little system of putting my hands in front of the camera and putting little codes to myself when I'm going into the edit for that was a smooth one, a good one. So that rather than me having to jog through, obviously if you're in a production where you've got lots of people, you've got people taking notes, you've got crew to help you with this, you're slating. If you're on your own doing this stuff, this is quite a neat little technique I have discovered for making things easier in the edit. You can smooth, good, bad, symbols for people, that kind of stuff. We can.
Oh, God.
Sorry, Jeff. 5 minutes in, demonetized. 10. That's all right.
And this one is monetized. There are ads rolling on it, so that'll be interesting.
Not anymore.
One ad.
Yeah.
So that was just something that I thought might be useful for other people, and even if it's just a case of a thumbs up or a thumbs down at the end of each one of those takes, it just makes life an awful lot easier rather than scrubbing through everything if you're not recording file names. So that's my first one for today.
I like that. I know some guys put their hands over the lens cap or over the lens for a while if they're going to keep rolling or whatever.
Yeah.
Kim, just quick shout out. Kim's got a delectable. She's doing an old fashioned with Elijah Craig. That's nice.
Ooh.
That's no.
I would hashtag yum that with a couple of extra M's.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
Jem, camera tip.
Yeah.
And folks, as we go through these, let's hear yours too. Don't be shy.
I would say one good camera tip would be Manhattans over old fashions because they're not as sweet with a rye whiskey.
But sometimes you just need
I
that
know.
sugar
Sometimes
boy.
you need a little, I know you got to get a little jolt in there.
Yep.
So did I talk about calling? It was a little blurry with Dan Fakos and Matt with the crazy last part one of this episode. Did I talk about calling camera focal lengths in that episode, or should I talk about that now?
You should talk about that now because I don't think you talked about that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so very often when I'm going in for what is normally a 2-camera shoot, what I want to do is I want to figure out basically what my focal lengths are going to be. So when we come into a space, the first thing we do, this is kind of like 2 camera tips, I guess, in one, is we'll set up a camera and then we'll take somebody as a stand-in, somebody on the crew, and whoever the other person is generally, because it's usually only 2 or 3 of us at most. And we will set up the camera. We'll find a frame that we think might work, have somebody sit or stand in front of camera, and then look camera right, and then look at the widest and the tightest shot, camera right. And then we'll have the person pivot and look camera left, obviously from the camera operator standpoint, and look at the widest and the tightest shot, and then figure out which side the person's going to be facing. If we need to make a change, we either move the subject or the camera or both, and then we figure out which way the person's going to be facing, unless, of course, they're looking directly at the camera. And that first decision that we make will decide which side the key is coming from. So if I'm looking camera right, then the key is going to come from the right-hand side. If I'm looking camera left, then it's going to come from that side. And so that allows you to start building out your room. Now, the important thing to remember, I'm not going to talk about calling focal lengths. I'm going to save that for another episode. The important thing to remember is that if, for instance, Ben is talking about being on a slider, if you're going to do that, what you want to do is you want to look at your widest and your tightest shot for your slider shot in all 3 of your main positions. So on the left side of the slider, in the center of the slider, and the right side, because obviously you want to see what that composition is going to be throughout that entire dolly move or that slide. You're going to set your eye lines for A camera. You're going to bring B camera in. You're going to set the height for B camera identical to A camera, and then you're going to start to move it to where you basically want it to be, and then you're going to tweak as necessary. But I again, you're looking at your widest and your tightest shot, and I'll do the other tip another time having to do with calling focal lengths if people want to ask about that in part 3 of what we're doing.
Boom. Okay, we're clipping right along, aren't we?
What about you?
Good. So for me, I kind of pulling this out of my back pocket last second.
Mine was.
Yeah. Mine's going to be a simple, no fuss, no Dan Fakos crazy time kind of data management on set.
Yeah.
So, it's great when you have someone who's managing all that and has their little happy place with their little tape circles and squares and such. But for me, if you're using SD cards or something similar, I think just a really simple one is pull the camera out, lock the SD card. It doesn't get unlocked until it's ingested or backed up or however many layers of redundancy you want to go. So whenever we're out and about, because we're making, YouTube videos and not features, we're usually just shooting on cards, and we pull them out, put them upside down in a case with the lock on. If we don't have cards that are SD cards with a little lock switch, I'll just take some red tape, usually just scotch or like a masking tape, and I'll just put several strips on the actual media card holder. So they're just sitting there ready to go. And then I just tape over the contact. So you literally can't put it back in the camera until you rip them off. So if you're using like CFast or something like that, And just no fuss, no complicated systems, for the kind of run and gun stuff. And I feel like that works. That's served me very, very well. And then that coupled with formatting every single time, fingers crossed, as they said, I've had a really good run. And yeah, that's fine. When you're just running around, and you don't have a Dan Fakos to wheel a cart around chasing you, handling all your media
with the flappy hands.
Yeah, exactly. And the crazy times.
Cool.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's move on to lighting or audio. Your call, Ben. Dealer's choice.
All right. Well, let's go audio. So I don't think in the last set of tips, because I was trying to remember when I was driving back now, we didn't talk about room tone, did we?
No, time? We didn't.
No.
Okay. Here we go then. So room tone. When you're interviewing somebody or you're capturing audio dialogue within your scene, you want to record some audio of the space with nobody moving, doing anything, talking, nothing. And this is so that when you get into your edit, that you can put a bed of that room tone underneath your cuts so that it doesn't just fall to nothing, because obviously there is noise. Every room has a different kind of ambient noise within it. And also you want it to do this once everybody's in there, once you're ready to go, because obviously that changes the makeup of the room. And it really saves your bacon in terms of when you're starting to cut dialogue together. It makes a huge, huge difference. And it's one of those things that we always mean to do and quite often gets forgotten. Not just on the kind of corporate stuff that I do, but also on much bigger drama features. It's one of those things that kind of gets pushed back a little bit, but making time and making notes to get some room tone recorded. You don't need huge amounts of it. 30 seconds is generally enough, but it will save your bacon and is a really good habit to get into. When I think that was you that in one of your courses a long time ago, Jem, that I started learning how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the sound recorders will do it all the time. And they fight for it too, because, everybody just wants to keep going with the day, and they have to say, hold on a second, we need this. And it's huge, because it's not just for those little, cuts. What happens if when somebody's done talking, they clear their throat, and you want to be able to, do something. Getting that room tone under there can help tremendously with all kinds of stuff. It makes a big difference. And sometimes in some applications, you can take a noise print of that room tone as well, and you can basically apply it to essentially the entire thing so that it's consistent, or to parts of it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and on that as well, just if you're doing noise reduction and you're needing the noise print for that in any of the, in Audition, in Premiere, whatever, having that as well as a nice clean bit that can use as a reference point is massively useful.
Guillermo showed up, and at least I usually like to, you want it to be clean, but I like to run for like 30 seconds.
30 seconds is my normal.
Cool. Nice. Beautiful. I like that.
Yeah, 30 to 60 is good, because like there's always that one little pop somewhere, like a bottle cap in the distance, and then it has a reverb on it. And if you cut it too short, like you have to like loop it, and that's the worst.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah, it gets so weird.
Yeah. My audio. Oh wait, Jem, it's you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, go.
Sorry.
Totally jumped ahead of you.
I was trying to think of something. I wish I had it here because it's somewhere in the studio, but it's always a cluster here. It's, when you take a microphone and you're booming a mic, there's oftentimes issues with HVAC systems and all kinds of things. And I talked about using a cardioid mic last time, but what if you don't have a cardioid mic? And hyper and supercardioid, they have, if this is the mic, they have a pickup in the back at the tail So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a piece of foam core. We'll just say that it's, I don't know, 12 by 18 inches. It could be a 2 by 2. It doesn't really matter exactly what size it is. And you take a piece of acoustic foam. In fact, if you look over Caleb's left shoulder on the wall there, that's acoustic panel stuff. And you can buy that really cheap now on places like Amazon. And you just buy a piece of that and you basically glue it or double stick tape it to a piece of foam core. And then what I'll do is I'll actually clamp that above the boomed microphone. So it's helping with that tail. So you're not picking up as much audio from above the mic or behind the microphone. And you can build that really easily. It can be very, very small. And you basically just take a Cardellini clamp, Mathellini clamp, just something to basically grip it. You could technically use a Quacker or platypus bill clamp to hold that in place. And I think it helps a lot with some of those problems that you can have. If you couple that up with some sound blankets coming in or moving blankets on either side out of frame, then it can be like a triple whammy and really help with controlling your space when it comes to audio.
Nice.
Sweet.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and skip the 1-inch garbage that is on Amazon. You can definitely find stuff, but there's so much trash out there.
Yeah.
Like, you're just burning money.
Yeah, just a nice thick piece. I mean,
yeah.
The reason I started using it is when I used to be in New Jersey, I was in that little small studio space, and there were some really weird reflections that would happen in that space, and it always was basically where my table was. And so I would speak, and I would get all this weird stuff happening. So I'd put some panels up on the walls, but I found that just putting that right above the mic also helped with some of those reflections, and
Nice.
It was pretty handy.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out something with my setup at the new studio, because I'm using more tabletop shots, and I get the same thing, just a real funky, almost boxy, really weird stuff. It's definitely coming from the table bouncing back up. So I'm on the hunt for like a tabletop surface that dampens sound or absorbs more, rejects more. But I don't know.
And what you have carpet, and you have carpet on the floor of that space, right?
Thin carpet over concrete, and then in half of the studio we have these. If you go to Vocal Booth to Go, or if you just Google Producer's Choice sound blankets, I've been using them forever, just hanging blankets on C-stands and stuff. And then I did the big rolling ones, but they also sell 2x4 sized ones that have grommets, so you can attach them to like office ceilings. So I have that on half the studio, and that really helps. And they're a great size if you just want to travel, but still dealing with that table bounce. So I don't know if like a cork or something like that would help. I don't know.
Interesting. You mean like under the table? Because the bounce is hitting the table, right?
Something to put over the top. Like what materials could you use as a desktop that
you see that table, don't you?
Yeah. So you got to come up with something really clever that's like you can put a camera on, but it isn't gonna bounce as much. So
interesting.
Well,
look at Fancy Pants. I've seen sound guys put a sound blanket under the interview chair since the boom is pointing down, which is a great tip. I see it all of the time, especially when you walk into, you're doing an interview, you happen to be placing talent essentially in the kitchen. So they might be sitting on a tile floor as opposed to carpeting, or there's a house, which I prefer, which is all wood. And so there's a lot of bounce. So just putting a big sound blanket underneath where the interview is happening definitely helps for sure. Yeah.
Sick.
What's yours?
So mine's going to be an expensive tip, but it's a tip that everyone should consider the timing of, and that is to buy the full Monty RX from Isotope, RX Pet Bundle. So we've talked about it in the past on the show. Isotope makes tons of insane, like Blackmagic level plugins for almost any piece of software. There's the Essentials, which is a really affordable way to get in, but I'm saying that if you do regular production and you're dealing with people that are speaking into a microphone, you should consider buying just the full advanced for several reasons. Number one, they do come on sale, but this is not cheap. Going for the full Monty, I bought the essentials on sale, and then I was able to get like an upgrade also on sale. So you got to watch out for the sales. But if you buy the full Isotope RX, right now I think 7 is the current version, so RX 7 Advanced, you can do insane stuff. Like if you have a really nervous talent who's constantly ending sentences in question marks because they're really, really scared, but the video is supposed to be very like, boom, this is our
amazing,
company.
Right?
You can actually go in and change that. You can alter the way people. It's like pitch, but also some other funky stuff.
You can de-California people. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So many things. They have.
You're in the Lake District right now.
Yeah.
I'm 6,000 miles away. I'm totally safe.
You not only are able. Everyone talks about the noise reduction, which is amazing, removing audio's noise, but they also in the advanced you get reverb reduction.
Yes.
Which a friend of mine on YouTube, I won't name him because he did an awful job setting up the microphone. Imagine like putting a shotgun microphone on the other end of a gymnasium and turning the levels all the way down. That's essentially what this guy was like dealing with audio wise. So with the reverb, the end product didn't sound great, but it sounded usable for like a documentary. So it's amazing what you can do. So either next time it's on sale or next time you run into just an awful situation, try it and it might blow your socks off.
Yeah. And the standalone version has other tools too, which I haven't even used. Like there's things to take the scratch away from a mic. So it's only listening for dialogue. It's pretty amazing. And then just yesterday, I think I could use that plugin. There's a new thing called Dialogue Match, I believe it's called, and it's going to be part of the 7 package. And basically, what it does is if you're recording somebody with a lavalier, and then you go outside and you record them, or you record them with a boom mic somewhere, you can take one or the other, and it'll take a noise print, and it'll take all of the qualities. EQ, reverb, everything else, and it'll match the one mic to the other.
Wow.
So for like ADR, dialogue replacement, putting somebody in a particular environment. So if you're shooting an outdoor scene somewhere and you record that with a boom mic, and then you go inside into a sound stage and you record automatic dialogue or looping recording over the scene, you basically take a noise print of the outdoor recording, and then it basically applies that. So apparently it's going to be pretty awesome. I would go check out the video. I watched it yesterday. I was drooling. It sounded amazing, looked amazing, but who knows? But it's Dialogue Match, so you should check it out. It looks really, really cool.
Sick.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good tip.
Yeah, it's witchcraft, that stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And one final note, since we're doing great on time. You know, like in every piece of software that you edit video with or use audio, they have all the presets for like different sounds or different like EQ setups. You know what I'm talking about? Where you like add like radio voice or this or that.
Yeah.
They're all awful, but Isotope's setup, and I think it's called their Ozone or Elements. Or there's several different ways to do it, but they have a whole bunch that are actually like really, really good right away out of the box. That deal with voices differently. So if you just want to like, it's almost like LUTs for your audio, if you will.
Wow.
And it's really, really well done. So anyway, those guys are
amazing.
So yeah, Tony's talking about the everything bundle. I think that's even beyond the advanced. It's confusing. You'd think advanced would be like, ooh, here we go. But there's more.
But does the everything include their other products from their other product lines?
I think it's literally, literally
everything that
they can buy on their website. Yeah.
But they update the bundles. So now that Dialogue Match just came out, they're putting that into certain bundles. So you just have to check it out. David asked, should you do outside room tone? Absolutely. Room tone is room tone. You just consider anywhere that you're shooting a room, and it's that ambience. It's harder. You might have to do a longer take for room tone outside. But what you're looking for is, let's say, for instance, there's dogs barking in the distance. You're hoping to get a 30-second period where you don't get that. And, when you start to go in and tweak things, because you can remove certain things within certain frequency ranges using a spectrum view. Soundtrack Pro used to have that, and there's definitely stuff that Adobe has that allows you to do that. So you're not looking at waveforms, you're literally looking at a visual representation of all of your frequencies in a way that you can draw basically, like a magic wand tool around and remove things. But then having that room tone to be able to replace those coughs or those barks or those things like that, that's really important. And hopefully they don't step on the dialogue of the person who's speaking. That's where it gets really tricky and is sort of beyond my area of expertise. Because if a dog barks at the same time that somebody's saying a word, the chances are those will both step on each other in terms of frequency ranges. But if it's off a little bit, then you should be able to clean it up pretty easily. So
Beautiful.
What about in the vacuum of space?
So
Come on, David. In the vacuum of space, there's no sound. I think you can answer that one. You're just taking the piss. Okay, let's go.
Last category, lighting. What do you guys got, Ben?
All right. This is a bit of advice that I had wished I'd given to myself on Sunday when I was packing my bag to come on this trip for this particular job. So just having a lot of black stuff for masking stuff out. So using things like small sheets of duvetine, which are always really useful to have around anyway, because you can flag lights with them and all sorts. But for the particular application that they would have been really useful for to me this week was for blocking light from windows. Now, we've been filming these really luxurious suites, and these suites, a huge part of their design is the lighting, and they're just beautifully lit. But we're having to film them in the middle of the day, but we want it to look like it's night. So we're putting down the blinds, and they are blackout blinds, but you're always going to get a little bit of light creep coming around the sides of those. So having things like smaller sheets of duvetine that are packable and you can carry them, even black paper roll, black wrap, but also even black gaff, wide black gaff, really useful that you can hide behind.
3-inch.
Yeah, exactly. The 3-inch.
Everybody has 2-inch, but 3-inch gaff is so useful.
Yeah. And then when we're talking about gaff, and this is one of those things that people get confused with gaff and duct tape. In Europe, particularly, not necessarily filmmakers, but people get those. Gaff tape is what people call any sticky, fabricy tape. But we're putting things on beautifully decorated, very expensively decorated suites. And the last thing you want to do is tape something onto a window, pull that off, and all the paint comes off the window frames. These are really old buildings that we were dealing with as well. So gaff tape is a very low tack. It sticks, but it doesn't generally pull things off the wall when it comes. But you don't be pushing the thing on hard. But then also using clamps, and a product that's very close to our dear leader's heart, C47s.
I'm not a leader.
Oh, as if you're not our leader. Come on, Jeff. So the C47, the clothes pin, the clothes peg, putting those onto window frames using the more powerful clamps, and there's loads of these things. You get them on Amazon for £5 and you get a bag of 20 of these things, and they're spring-loaded plastic things. They're brilliant. They weigh nothing. You can put loads of them in your bag, and then you can actually attach things to, well, pretty much to anything. They'll open up to, I don't know, 6-7 centimeters on the jaw, and you can put those onto the frames. So really useful.
Good grief! What kind of C47s do you guys have over there?
Well, those are bullets. That's reversing. You reverse the springs. And there's a way to take a C47, you reverse the spring, or you buy the Bullet X ones, and they open up to a much larger opening. So there's like a little trick where you take the spring out and you take everything and you basically reverse it, and you get a much wider opening or jaw.
I was
Sick.
just talking about the really cheap plastic versions that you can buy.
Oh, yeah,
Not the wooden ones.
Not the wood ones.
No. Those things are great, really useful. You're not going to damage anything with those. So that is something that I wished that I had reminded myself of on Sunday. We worked around it; it was all fine, but it would have made life an awful lot easier. So that's my number one tip on lighting.
Very nice.
We can probably do a million of these. I mean,
Yeah.
with little kits and stuff that I have. But
Oh, yeah.
that's cool.
I love the idea. Not to brag or anything.
Somebody named the Golden Boy came up with this idea.
Shush.
So, you know.
So going kind of
Yesterday,
tagging
I sent out an email yesterday to the boys saying, "What's our topic?" And then, of course, nobody answered. Typical. And so I fell back on Caleb. Brilliant idea, and I said it's part 2 of tips. So it's I'm not taking the piss. I'm saying it's true. That is like it's our savior, but it always will make I think for interesting content and an interesting episode.
I stole the idea from another YouTuber who does tip videos where he'll do like pick one category and like for 15 minutes he'll like this guy's like the best woodworker / maker ever, and so he'll do like an episode on glue and adhesives, and he'll give you like a billion like incredible tips on using them, tapes, things like that. So anyway, that's where that came from. Jimmy DiResta. Jimmy DiResta, or just DiResta on YouTube. Awesome channel. Let's see. Oh yeah, so Ben's thing with the C47s, love it. One thing I would also, if you haven't used them, for people in the chat to check out, you know those little black clamps? They're not A clamps.
Yeah, I have.
They're like background clamps.
Yes. You
Background.
used them on your episode on how to on the way you do tabletop stuff. You can buy like a 6 or an 8 pack on Amazon, and they have like orange tips, and they open up.
That's exactly what I was talking about. That's what I was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So those. See, I thought you were talking C47s of plastic, like Walmart. Terrible.
No. Okay. Just basic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I
get
was
those because you take the orange tips off immediately because they're going to come off anyway. But they have way more bite power than a C47, and you can get the little baby ones that are not much bigger. So yeah, we're talking about the same thing. Awesome.
And also, with the orange tips, I tape them. So I put black gaff over them, so they're softer as well, so that when you're pulling them on and off things, that you don't scratch anything.
Nice. Brilliant. So, Mr. Jim.
Somebody said my voice is General Grievous. What? Okay. Is my voice going crazy today? What's the deal?
You sound all right to me.
Knockstrom Digital Media, white gaffer's tape. Let me just tell you, magician stuff. If you're going to take this stuff right here, beadboard, what I do is I'll go to this is not my lighting tip, but you go to a home improvement store, you buy a 4x8 sheet, silver on one side, white on the other. We've talked about that. Score it down the middle on the compressed styrofoam side, about halfway, bend it, and then line that with white gaffer's tape, and then line it all the way on the edges. You got a clean 4x4 that folds down to a 2x4.
I just told a buddy about that trick, how you can fold them up.
And even if you're not folding them up and you're just putting them down.
Phasing to the audience for some reason. I don't know why I'm phasing.
Say what?
You sound
I am a
fine.
little phasey. I'm a couple of drinks in, so maybe I'm phasey. But if you can hear me, it's an effect. I went in and I used one of the cheap effects that Caleb was talking about. It's from iMovie, as opposed to one of the good ones from Isotope. So just deal with it, okay, kids? I'm up on a hill. I'm dealing with a Wi-Fi hotspot. I talked about it this morning. Stop giving me grief. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Good.
Yeah.
So your tip, good sir.
So I was talking to my buddy down where are you in the I don't see the up, you're up in the top right now as the host. I was talking to Caleb today, and we were having a discussion, and this is a good time to bring up that we're not going to have an episode next week, unbeknownst to Ben, because I'm going to be on an airplane flying back from Chicago. So it's the only flight that I could get out of there. And so I'm going to be on an airplane while the episode's happening. So we're coming back 2 weeks from today with our next episode. Ben is going to be the host, and I think we're going to I don't know why I'm coughing for you, David. Caleb's, I think, going to continue to do this if this is relatively successful, except for my phasey audio. And, you know, I was talking to, this is a long way of getting to the point that A, we're not going to have an episode next week. It's going to be 2 weeks from today. And B, I was talking to Caleb about these brick walls that I think generally people run into creatively. So it might be a good topic for 2 weeks from now. You know, I've been finding that maybe I live in a kind of unique world that I do production, but I also teach production. And I feel like I hit these brick walls where I'm feeling really good about the way I'm approaching things and what I'm doing. I've learned or hit a plateau stuff to a certain level. And then I kind of see something, or I read something, or I watch something, or I just start thinking, which is a dangerous thing for me to do. And I figure out, like, I have this feeling of I don't know anything at all. And I just, I feel like a complete, like, imposter in terms of what I'm doing. And I just hit these, and I hit them every year and a half, 2 years. And I feel like I'm creatively hitting this brick wall, and I need to push through it. So one of the things that I've been doing for the last few days is I've been upstairs and actually just doing tons of different lighting setups and just trying to get myself through this brick wall, because I've been going through this phase of, I used to do Rembrandt lighting or 45-degree lighting, and in the beginning it was very 3 or 4 point lighting, and then I started to make shifts, and then I've done a lot of side keying and things, and I'm just hitting ruts, these ruts that you hit, and so I've been trying to push through all of that, and I've been doing a lot of back keying over the last few days, and one of the things that you have to be aware of when your main source is coming, like a 3/4 back key light or a back key, is you lose very oftentimes the eye light, that catch light that's in the person's eyes. And so one of the things that you can have, this is a very long answer, is a little light that ideally is color temperature tunable, that will allow you to basically create a little bit of a catch or a little bit of an eye light. And usually what you'll do is you'll place this just below the lens, just above the lens, or off to one side. It's near the camera, and it'll just create a little bit of a glint. It's also really important when you're shooting low light scenes. So if you're outdoors and it's nighttime and you aren't getting a catch bouncing off of something, but you really like what's happening lighting wise, then having a catch light is great. But the real trick is to make sure it dims to an incredibly low level, because if you have a light like this and you turn it on and it's at 1% and it's really affecting how much light is hitting the person's face, or it's creating a shadow, it's not really an effective catch light to use in that way. This is the F7. We've talked about it a million times on the show. There it is, and it's $100, and it dims to virtually nothing. That's it at 15%, and that's it basically coming down to 1%, which is barely noticeable. And it's color tunable, so you can basically change this, in terms of your color. It goes all the way up to 9,500 Kelvin and goes all the way down to 3,200. And so something like this is a great little light to have in your kit. You can set it up on the nano stand with a ball head. You can fly it off of a little Noga or Israeli arm off of your rig, and you just have it there on standby. It's not a light that you're using all of the time, but it can make the difference between having a little bit of life in the person's eyes and not. And that's my tip for lighting today.
That's amazing. I used exactly that light for exactly that purpose yesterday.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So,
yeah.
Not even, it was a top lit statue that was part of one of these interiors, and it was just losing on the face, but we really wanted to keep that exposure for the light that was hitting the head. So exactly the same thing, using the exact same fixture, which we have mentioned on more than any other product.
Yep.
In all the episodes we've done.
I mean, I bought one. It was just like, it's so effective. And just put the heavy diffusion on it so it doesn't read as multi-LEDs. So it's just a little bit of a glow. I think that's also important. I will say that one of the hardest challenges that we have nowadays shooting digital, and it's one of the things that's killing me when I'm doing all of this, stuff to kind of break through, and get to whatever I need to get to feel like I'm coming up with new ideas for workshops and the way I light my jobs, is most of the digital cinema cameras that we have on the market across the boards are not good at underexposing. So that was the real difference between shooting on film and then also shooting with a camera like an Alexa, which is very good at underexposing because it has really good latitude to be able to to push the quote unquote film so you can get more exposure out of it and still have the right ratios and an image that's not getting noisy. That's the hardest thing, because part of my breaking through this is the frustration that I want to light a scene a certain way and I want it to look a certain way. And if I never touched that image ever, and I was monitoring that image on a perfectly calibrated monitor that was at the right exposure, I would have confidence that that was the way that image would turn out. But the reality is that most of these sensors need a lot of light. And it's a lot of work for us to figure out how to get our lighting ratios the right way so that when we go into post, we can adjust our images down as opposed to lift them up. And I just wish, if there's one thing that I wish these cameras would do, is let me expose the image the way I want to using these sensors so that I didn't have to fight that. And it's a lot of thinking in terms of what you're doing. And I think it takes away from the creativity to a degree.
And guessing, right? Because guessing, because at the end of the day, what you shot and saw on your monitor is not maybe anything what you're going to see.
No.
I've had the same thing where, like, I'm like, man, you just kind of, it looks good on the monitor, but you're going to be tweaking stuff.
Yep.
And unless you have 60,000 LUTs that you've made for every scenario.
It's really tricky. No, and that's the other thing I'm trying to break through is, like, it's really easy for me to teach a workshop on how to light interviews and take up a gray card and say, okay, you're shooting log. Where should we position that gray card so we can expose it at 40 IRE so that we can get correct exposure so that things will fall about where they should in post-production. But as soon as you start shooting stuff that is low key and has mood and things like that, it's like, where the hell does the gray card go? Because it's a totally different way of shooting. You're not trying to say that this one big area of your frame is exactly supposed to be exposed a certain way. And that's where the frustration is. But that's also part of growing. And I would recommend to everybody who watches Cameron Flask, have a listen to the Wandering DP podcast, Patrick O'Sullivan. I think it's a great podcast.
But be warned.
He kind of got on my nerves in the beginning, but he's grown on me. He's a smart guy, and I love that he is constantly sharing, but he's also growing. And I think it's really fantastic content. I think I'm actually going to sign up for his Patreon.
Me too. He did a thing on side lighting that I want. Want to see.
Yeah, he's it's all good stuff. It's really good. So sorry about that. I'm ready to hear about your lighting tip. I just felt like there was a lot to talk about there. So
I will say, if you're going to start listening to that podcast, be warned that you will feel like you suck. But like max, like you're just awful. Oh, there goes Jem again.
No.
We'll see what happens there. All right, so lighting. I'm gonna do two because Jem reminded me of a little thing that I don't think I've talked about. So those F7s, right?
Yeah.
The diffusion. It's a Hampshire filter where they just try to like make it look like it's one light, but they're never. You can still always see the LEDs because they're too close. So one thing I found that works well, excuse me, getting stuffy, is on those lights, there's usually on the back or on the top or sides a space where you can add, this is actually a little amp remote, but this magnetic tape you can buy?
Yeah.
So you put some of this stuff on the side of your light, and then you just take a scrap of, diffusion, ripstop, and kind of make a diaper. Have you seen those diffusion diapers that you can like put over a light?
Yes.
Just something like that, or a piece of gel, so you can get a little separation, and then because it's magnetic, you can very easily mount it without too much hassle. My main tip was going to be one that I think we forget in the era of monitors. Often we're like, oh, what's that weird shadow, or what's that, there's something in this corner that doesn't look right on my monitor, and you keep futzing with your lights in your camera, when a really simple tip is just go, like, put your head where the issue is. So if there's a weird shadow or a funky reflection or something, just walk over to the wall where you see it, put your head down, and start looking around, and you'll immediately see what the problem is. I think we get like so caught up with our monitors that we forget to like deal with the real world. And then on a side note, get a wireless monitor, because that's been the most amazing thing, is either having a big monitor on wheels that's all V-mount powered and wireless, or something handheld. And it's so cheap to do these days. Like, I just got that Mars 300 HDMI transmitter.
Yeah.
It's like a couple $100, and it's gold.
Really? And what's the
Yeah.
range like on that thing?
Good enough for me. I haven't like gone across a football field, but I've had other systems that have, wigged out on me in the same room. But this one's been great so far. And then
Latency?
I haven't latency, really good, actually. Yeah, very,
Wow.
very good. And then I haven't reviewed it
He's
yet.
back. Hey.
Hey, there he is. Haven't reviewed it yet, but I just got this guy in the house.
What is that?
The CineEye 5G transmitter.
Ooh.
And this thing is $200,
Mm-hmm.
and it transmits to any Android or iOS device.
Wow.
And it also has a USB output. They're constantly like improving the software, so eventually you might be able to control your camera with this as well.
5G though.
It's 5G.
Controversial.
Yep,
Controversial.
But if you're,
Maybe there's a little hand growing out of your head in a few years.
What? No, 5G is fine. For like a 1-to-1 device. We're not talking about 5G. We're not talking about 5G. There's another Caleb coming out the side of my head. We're not talking about 5G.
The
like
second tiny
wireless.
Caleb head coming out.
Uh-oh.
And then the Gerald head coming out. What?
Oh, I'm
What's
back.
happening?
I'm
What
back.
do you mean?
It said reconnecting on my screen for a second.
No, you've been here the whole time.
Okay, good.
You're here with us.
Anyway, so that's my tip. Glad to see you're back, Jem.
Maybe this is good that you're hosting. This is a beautiful thing. So I would say in general, this has been a relatively successful technical experiment.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's been 80% right, which is like twice as good as any other that we've done.
Maybe 4 times as good.
Yeah, so this is amazing.
Yeah. What happened, by the way, Jem? Just random.
I literally had like my internet connection was still up, and my screen just went blank for the green room. And then I tried to reconnect, and it wouldn't let me. And then I basically went and grabbed the link again from the email, pasted it in again to Chrome, and here I am. So weird stuff.
Wow.
But who knows? Yeah.
Okay. Well,
at least I didn't take everybody else down with the ship.
Yeah. Oh, this has been all right.
Oh, can you see my text? Sorry, Jem. I missed the messages.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
All I see is like a whole thing of like Jem left, Jem joined, Jem left, Jem joined.
Although I think generally last week's episode was probably the most entertaining one we've done. So
I had a great time.
Maybe this is making this duller, things going smoother.
I'm never going to watch that. You know how people do movies and they never watch their movies? I'm never going to watch that episode back.
It is 100% worth it. It is a blast.
Oh, you've done it?
For those who missed it, middle of the show, Jem cuts out his audio. We can't hear him. So Ben and I are having a great time doing the show.
We basically hijacked the show.
Yeah, Jem's gone. We can see him, but we can't hear him. So we just kept the show going, and for a good 20-25 minutes or more, and then Jem. But here's the thing: the chat, you guys could hear and see Jem and everybody. Correct. So Jem starts just doing a commentary over Ben and I, and then we just overpower him because we don't know he's there.
Can I just modify
It
that?
was so good.
I did a commentary over Ben, and then you occasionally said something. Let's be honest about this, okay? So,
says him. I'm taking that from you, of all people.
Well. A good time was had.
I still think that this was because Jem's now allergic to hosting the show. He got halfway through one after missing them for months, and then just like, oh no, technical issue. You still gonna have to carry on.
I've gone one further this week, and now Caleb has hijacked my channel, and he's actually hosting the actual live stream as well. It's pretty amazing.
Godfather moment.
Oh my goodness.
So chat.
Unbelievable.
Those you beautiful people in the chat. What's going on?
Beautiful.
Any questions as we wrap up? Anything you want to talk about? Anything on your mind, on your heart? Let us know. In the meantime,
I agree.
So we're
Should
gonna
we do that?
Oh, I want to say real quick, if anyone's in Chicagoland or in the Midwest, Jem's got a lighting thing coming up. You should check out in Chicago.
Yeah.
Nice.
And depending on what happens over the next few days, that class could change pretty quickly.
Really?
No, I just mean, I've got some new things that I'm going to bring into the class, which is good. I'm excited about it. I have started to break through this thing, and so I'm excited. And it's not going to change. The basic syllabus of the class is going to change. It's not going to change, but maybe some of the stuff that we do in there is going to tweak a little bit. It's at Able Cine in Chicago, which is on the lot of a film studio lot. Where is that? It's over by a park in the place of the thing. Let me tell you where it is.
Nowhere special.
No, it's not. I have no idea. You'll know. Can you tell me where it is? Able
I can't remember.
Chicago. Listen to me, Caleb. It's Cine Space Film Studios. So it's 2602 West 16th Street. So apparently over by Douglas Park. You know Douglas Park?
Not intimately, no. But 16th. I live 2 blocks from there. From 16th. Really? I don't know where the east west is, but yeah.
Okay.
I lived.
There you go. Tony. Tony's got a question. What do I think about ACE's workflow? That's a big question.
That's a juicy one, yeah.
That's an episode.
Very quick answer is it's being adopted definitely in the Hollywood realm, I think. How much, I don't know. The idea of ACEs is that basically you equalize, right? So you take all these different disparate cameras and you equalize them. Yes, there's differences in sensors, dynamic range, all of the things in terms of that. But you try to start with an image that's equal between all of them, and then you start your grading, color correction and grading from that point. So I think the concept is fantastic. Who's that company that makes that software solution? They're going to do something similar like that, where you can basically match different cameras, but it won't be ACEs.
Film Convert,
yeah. Exactly. And so that supposedly is coming in a big way later this year. I spoke to them in NAB, and that could be pretty interesting. So let's see how that all goes.
Cool. Sorry, Bart. Keep stealing your thunder, apparently. Just gotta, have not a life. Don't have a life, and then make more videos.
You mean you? Yeah, exactly.
Do we ever go up to Canada, Rob? I don't. And Rob, are you new, by the way? I don't know if I recognize the name. If so, welcome, good sir. And then
We've got
Rimrock.
some new people.
Yeah, I'm noticing some new names. I love it. Rimrock S1H versus Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. Go. Full frame versus not full frame, and not raw yet versus raw.
Yeah, and 4,000 versus 2,500, or vice versa.
Right. But you can vlog with it. It's got a flip off screen.
That's true. Rob is newish.
Nice. Love it.
Beautiful.
Whoa. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we hit the big 600 here in the Midwest. 5 p.m. Oh, wow, Caleb. 7 p.m. Eastern. 3 p.m. where Jem's at.
Yep.
Nice. And then
4 p.m.
4 p.m. And then
Wait,
1 o'clock then.
No, I'm in the
Where are
UK at the moment, so
Dadgummit.
like midnight.
Midnight. All right. I failed all but one. So there we go. On that note, anything you want to add, Ben?
No, just always really good fun. That was another good tips one. I'd actually got 2 for each category, which I can't remember if that's what we did last time or not. I got all panicky, but that's brilliant because the next time we do this, I'm all prepped, ready.
Oh wow, you're right.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
like
we
I'm
did
like
do
a coiled
2.
spring.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. Here we go. Okay. So Ben, Jem, what's going on?
Excited about the 10-bit 422 update for the Panasonic G9. I think that's
Mhm.
great. Come on, you're
Yeah.
you're breathing new life into an older camera. There's nothing wrong with that. Do we do any exercises specifically for video, strengthening our arms? No, I let my 11-year-old son do that. I don't know. I'm not, no, I don't, but that's not a good thing. I enjoy this every week. I enjoy hanging out with you guys, and I particularly enjoy it when the entire stream does not go down. I guess we're going to try light stream again in 2 weeks, right, Caleb? Should we give it another shot?
maybe we'll lower the latency setting on YouTube. Just get wild up in here.
Oh, that would be crazy. I know what you're saying. No, it would be. I'm always scared to do it. I tried to have you do it today, but you were right to not do it. And then, of course, I blacked out anyway. So, and then came back. So here we go. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm going to go. I think we're finished. I think it's time. It's time for me to go and cook some food for the family. And I hear the pitter patter on your side, Caleb. Ben, you look tired.
Yeah.
At this point.
And
I would like to say one thing. Love everybody who comes to the chat. I'm going to say 2 things. And I am already starting to get excited about NAB 2020.
So
and I'm really starting to think about that. We're going to have some conversations near the end of the year. We'll start to talk about that show a little bit. And just so that you know, Ben, it's going to be 2 full-day workshops now. So what I talked to you about is going to change. It's just going to be us doing our thing. So I'm excited. I might talk to you about that soon. And then, of course, we've got all the good stuff. Caleb, don't mess it up. You got to come in a day early. Bless you.
Thank you.
Meeting.
That was close.
Good job. Are you coming in a day early, Caleb? You're going to come. It's starting. The show starting Sunday.
I wanted to talk to you about some stuff with that off the air. But
okay. Well, we'll talk out. We'll take. Yeah. All right. Good. All right. Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a time we've had together. What a lovely time. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Again, every single Wednesday, same time, right here at C47. And that's gonna do it for us. We'll see you next time. Love y'all. Cheers.
Cheers. Back in 2 weeks, everyone. All the best. All. And then Caleb's going to push a nice logo, and I think we're going to.
Here's the logo. Enjoy.